In the part 1 of this lesson series on study strategies, we learned a bit about how the human brain is attempting to make long-term memories. Whatever's in working memory has the potential to be stored as a long-term memory, but this requires a biological process that we call consolidation. And multiple consolidation events may be required to store a memory well. Now, in this and the next lesson, then, we're going to introduce some terms and ask some basic questions about learning and memory, and then relate them to study strategies. The terms we'll encounter in this lesson are storage strength and retrieval strength, and we'll ask questions like what happens when we learn and why can we remember something. And in the following lesson, we'll tackle the question, why do we forget things? So when we try to learn something, we are attempting to transfer the information from the working memory system to the long-term memory system. And that transfer requires consolidation events, biological processes that strengthen the connections between those cells that were activated during the learning session. Cortical synapses often require multiple consolidation events to make changes that can last a lifetime. So in our scenario here, let's imagine we're studying a text and we want to remember the information that we're reading. Well, initially, the hippocampus will enjoy the LTP, so we'll get synaptic plasticity here, and the hippocampus will make a strong memory trace of the information we just read. But initially, the cortical memory trace is weak, indicated by the small word here, the small font text here. What we need is the consolidation process to strengthen the cortical memory trace, so that if the cortical memory trace is strengthened, then we'll be able to access that cortical memory through frontal cortex retrieval systems and load up that information into our working memory. We won't need the hippocampus for retrieval. So long-term memories then are long-lasting synaptic changes between neurons in the cerebral cortex, and they get strengthened through this process of consolidation. Now here we're going to introduce our first term. Storage strength is related to the strength of the memory trace in the cortical memory systems as a consequence of consolidation. And again, multiple consolidation episodes will progressively increase the storage strength of a memory. So the concept storage strength has to do with the nature of the memory in the cortex. If it's strongly stored, then we're going to say there's high storage strength. At the level of synapses, when the synapses in the cortex are weak, we would have low storage strength. And after consolidation, if those synapses increase in strength, then we would say the cortical memory trace is more strongly stored, and we would say we have high storage strength. Now, storage strength is also related to how interconnected the information is with already stored knowledge. With greater integration into semantic memory, retrieval strength increases. And that's our diagram here. When we have all these concepts that are related and strongly linked, then the idea is it's kind of easy to access that information because there's lots of sort of handles to get at the information. So when we have lots of information that is well integrated, it makes retrieval more efficient and effective. So storage strength has to do with the strength of the synapses that are the basis for the memory trace and the extent of integration of the concepts in the semantic memory system. Now the next term is retrieval strength. Retrieval strength is a measure of the ease or speed with which information can be retrieved. It is associated with how efficiently the working memory system can access information from either recently active working memory or the long-term memory system. So notice we said storage strength was more associated with the cortical memory system, the long-term memory system. Retrieval strength is more associated with the working memory system. How effective is that system at accessing desired information? Now, we have something important to consider here about how this the short-term memory system works. Retrieval strength is a measure of the ease or speed with which information can be retrieved. But consider the following. Recently processed information can be temporarily stored in the short-term memory system for fast access during ongoing processing. In brains, we will call this the working memory boost. So one way to have high retrieval strength for a bit of information is that it is still temporarily stored in the short-term memory system. Now, Think about doing a word problem or doing some mental math. You might be there might be several steps in the process, and you might be on step 3. But you see, even though you're not currently thinking about step 1 is easily accessed because it just happened a moment ago. And that's the idea, that recently processed information is temporarily more accessible in the short-term memory system. And we're going to call this the working memory boost. So when is retrieval strength high? Well, when we have just reread a passage or restudied our notes. You see, we've just been processing information, and a moment later, I still have quick access to that information. Or when we've been looking over the same material for a while. Again, we've loaded up the information into working memory, and even if I momentarily pay attention to something else, I still have quick access to that information for a short time. Or when we've just been thinking about the information. So high retrieval strength occurs during a study session. See, so whenever we're studying, we are loading up information into our working memory system. We're going to be enjoying high retrieval strength for that information, and we're calling this the working memory boost. Now, another way to have high retrieval strength is to have a strongly stored memory for the information. This ensures relatively quick and reliable retrieval. So again, the first way to have high retrieval strength is to just recently have been processing it in your short-term memory system. The other way to have high retrieval strength is to have it well stored in your long-term memory system. Strong storage means that you can get at that information relatively quickly and reliably. And so when information is strongly stored in long-term memory, retrieval of that information is more likely to be successful. Again, strongly stored means we've got strong synapses in the cortical memory trace, and we've got that information integrated into semantic memory, and we can access that information quickly and easily. So there are 2 ways then to have high retrieval strength. The working memory boost, recently activated information is easily retrieved, and then high storage strength. The memory is well stored in long-term memory, so quickly and reliably accessed.